Welcome to the Filipino American Woman Project, also known as TFAW Project for short, a podcast show that features stories and life lessons told by American women of Filipino descent. We're your co-hosts, Jen Amos.
And I'm Nani Dominguez.
And thank you for joining us.
If today's conversation resonates with you, text us and let us know at 415-484-8329.
And if you want to show us some love, buy us boba at buymeacoffee.com/Jen and Nani.
It says coffee, but we love boba. Again, that's www.buymeacoffee.com/Jen and Nani.
Awesome. With that said, thank you all for your love and support.
Now let's get into the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Filipino American Woman Project, also known as TFAW Project for short. I am your co-host, Jen Amos, and as always, I have Nani Dominguez with me, my co-host. Nani, welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a great week.
Yes. And again, we are having one of those weeks where it's just Nani and I hope we're enough for you. And we are going to be sharing some commentary and some updates. Nani, we have some exciting things going on this weekend. But before we get into that, we want to announce that the last live workshop that we did from one of the incredible women from the Filipino Momcast, Roanne, the Guia-Samuels, also episode 34 on the TFAWproject.com. Feel free to check out her episode if you don't know about her yet. But really incredible woman, mother, Filipina Psychotherapist. She actually joined us about 2 weeks ago to present on collective affection, the untold story of Filipinos on love. And Nani, I really loved this conversation. I mean, I just love engaging with Roanne. She has this energy, this vibe about her that just makes me want to keep listening to her. And one thing that I took for granted when we first interviewed her, Nani, was just seeing her facial expressions. When we first interviewed her, it was over the phone, if you remember that, long ago.
But yes, I do.
Yeah. And in watching her present, I was like, wow, like, I just want to see her present more. Like she was just like really into it and really enthusiastic about her presentation. But wanted to check in with you. Any initial thoughts or reflections since that live workshop?
I agree. I get lost in her IG stories and her Instagram reels all the time because she's just so animated when she speaks and she's a good presenter, you know. And yeah, I have, like I mentioned at the end of the workshop, if you guys were able to catch it, I actually have worked with Roanne outside of the podcast after meeting her like a year ago or 2 years ago, however long that was now. Mm-hmm. I do remember doing that interview. I was traveling in LA and I kicked my friends out of the car so that I could
I remember that.
Yeah, they were just like walking around some shopping center for like an hour while we were interviewing Roanne.
I remember that. I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that like Nani doesn't feel so pressured to like stay on. Like,
oh no, I was not going to miss that interview for the world. I knew like from the second that I found her that Roanne was someone that I, you know, like you said, when she opens her mouth, you just want to keep listening and really lean into what she's saying. And she's someone that really changed my perspective on therapy. You know, I've tried therapy before when I was like a teenager, and it was just through my health insurance. So they paired me with somebody really random and I didn't, you know, feel any kind of connection. I didn't feel any kind of warmth. I didn't feel like that kind of welcoming vibe to want to open up in the first place. And so meeting Roanne really showed me the importance of cultural alignment when it comes to therapy, at least for me as a Filipino American woman, you know, how dire it is to talk to someone or seek guidance from someone who understands your experience, you know, outside of whatever the capacity is that you met them in. So yeah, she's been amazing. She's been a really great addition to my life since we met her. And I'm, you know, just thrilled for any opportunity to share more of her and what she does with you guys. If you guys don't already follow her on Instagram, she posts a lot on there. She's coined, I think at this point, the Pinoy love languages, which if you haven't already heard is basically the 5 love languages, but Pinoy style. So specifically speaking to Filipino American culture and how we like to give and receive love, which I think is something really important that we talked about in our workshop with her 2 weeks ago, is that story of assimilation and the loss of emotional resources, and how a lot of us don't acknowledge that we've lost the emotional resources to deal with certain things or to navigate certain situations. And so bringing that up, I think, was really the highlight of our time with her that day. And yeah, just as you dive into the content that she puts out and what she was sharing that day about self-regulation versus co-regulation, I think it all kind of ties together, and it will start to make a lot more sense to you intrinsically once you dive into that content. So yes, please check it out if you have not already.
Yeah. And I think another word she's trying to coin right now, which is a good description of co-regulation for our community, is collective affection. And so if you missed out on that term and you want to know what she means by collective affection, check out the archive version of that live webinar or that live workshop at biasboba.com. Two things you mentioned, Nani, that I want to add upon. I like how you mentioned just the big difference you found with, speaking with a therapist that understands your culture, that can really relate. It actually reminds me of how this goes back to just me like being stuck out here in the East Coast, quote unquote, and trying to still make it work, still make new friends and try to adapt. But a couple of days ago, Nani, I caught up with a friend who's known me for years and we hadn't talked for months. And I was updating him on everything I was going through out here in the East Coast. And he knew exactly what I was going through. He knew the struggle. He's like, Jen, you're not crazy. And just kind of like Roanne had mentioned, you just kind of exhausted your emotional resources. He didn't say it that way. That's how I'm interpreting it. But you're exhausted because you're trying to adapt, you're trying to assimilate. So no one's going to understand your situation and the way that I do, because I know you and I understand where you're coming from. And although he was not Filipino, the point I'm trying to make is that there's a difference between trying to have certain people understand you versus people who really do understand you. And I think that's the way you're describing your experience with Roanne. It's one thing to just have, let's say, your everyday therapist or however you want to describe it, but it's so different and so much more, I guess, enriching. Enriching, is that a word? It's so gratifying when you actually, it's so fulfilling when you end up finding the therapist that actually gets you. Just like how for me, my friend was able to get me. And while everything I was sharing with everyone else, they didn't understand the way that they did. That's the familiarity that the best way I can compare it is sometimes you need to talk to the right person to know that you're not crazy and to know that your situation is valid.
Absolutely. I think when it comes to therapy, it's kind of a lot of people consider personal connections that they have in their lives, whether it's their friends or their family members, their form of therapy. And that's really what therapy should feel like, in my opinion. It shouldn't feel like you're talking to a doctor that's trying to assess your symptoms and, tell you what's wrong with you. It should be someone who shows you, how to identify what's going on with yourself. And only someone who understands on a firsthand level can do that. And that is the way that I've felt about Roanne as my therapist is, it's like talking to an auntie, or it's talking to a mom, or it's talking to, some version of my grandma. And so again, that warm kind of I don't know what the word is, very maternal vibe, I guess, is just, it makes all the difference, I think, on top of the cultural aspect of it as well.
Yeah. And Nani, that actually gives me hope that we do need women of color in many spaces, because it's one thing to seek out help from our, let's say, white counterparts, but it's so much more fulfilling, like you said, if you're able to speak to someone who shares the same experience or same background as you. So, shout out to all the women of color, life coaches, consultants, because you're so needed. And I just love how you can share that personal testimonial. So free advertising for you, Roanne, because we love you. But seriously, it's obviously, if someone does well or does good, I guess grammar check, it's important to acknowledge that. And also just, again, to thank her and the Filipino Momcast for just being as collaborative and open and willing to, work with us, because, the favor gets returned, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they added value, like Roanne added value to our audience, and we only want to continue to add value to hers as well. And, I think on our show, we very much believe in the all boats rise with the tide type of mentality. And so, to Roanne, I really appreciate you. The last thing I want to mention is the whole emotional resources concept, or the idea that she brought up. And it reminded me of how a lot of my life, I felt like my mom wasn't emotionally available for me. And the thing is, in Roanne's conversation, it helped me realize that it's not that my mom was emotionally unavailable. It's that she was emotionally exhausted.
Yeah.
Like she had a lot going on. And I mean, I'm sure that if my mom ever wanted to come on, she would explain her side of the story. But the way that I have interpreted it is that, before we lost my dad, my mom was very emotional. I mean, she was like the discipliner in the house. Like when she was mad, you know? And then after the loss of my dad, she was not like that as much. She was more robotic in a sense. And, often I remember my family told me growing up, they said like, oh, she's just living for you guys. You're her reason for living,
Yeah.
And so the way that Roanne explained the whole, not having the emotional resources when our parents immigrate here was very profound to me and got me to better, understand my mom and appreciate her. So I just, again, to Roanne, thank you, for doing this live workshop with us. And if you all missed out, no worries. Even though it's not on YouTube or Facebook anymore, you can get the archive version at biasboba.com and subscribe. Once you join us on biasboba.com, we will give you a special, unique invitation with a unique URL to subscribe to our private podcast, Chismis with Jen and Nani, where you can listen to the archive of this live workshop.
Yes. Thank you, Roanne. We love you so much. I think that was a great way to end the individual sessions for our launch of Chismis with Jen and Nani with the Filipino Momcast. I think it's a great starter pack, if you will, on the community building that we really intend to do with the community that we have built with the TFAW Project so far. And so, if there are past guests that we've interviewed that you are excited to hear more about or learn more about what they do and what kind of content they have to share, we're going to be hitting basically the majority of them to share content like that or host workshops on Chismis with Jen and Nani. So again, buy us some boba and you can have access to that. And then we do have one more session in this series with the Filipino Momcast coming up soon. I think the date is still TBD because we've got to work with multiple calendars since it will be all 5 of us together, but it will be a roundtable discussion with both Jen and myself, and then all 3 of the nanais from Filipino Momcast.
Yes, absolutely. So be on the lookout for that. So Nani, I think it's important for us to tell people how can they be a member, right? Like I know that we often talk about the website and we refer them to biasboba.com, but let me just briefly walk you through that process. So if you join us on biasboba.com, there's 2 things you can do. You could either just buy us a cup of boba, which we absolutely love. $5 goes a long way. Or there's another option where you could become a member. And when you become a member, this is really a monthly or a one-time annual commitment to support us financially. And what that does is when you decide to become a member, you get a special invitation. You will get emailed separately an invitation to subscribe to Chismis with Jen and Nani. So as a recap, Chismis with Jen and Nani right now, we are archiving our live workshops, but moving forward, we are going to have some real Chismis for you. So Nani, anything you want to add about like the subscribing process or, just anything about the membership side?
I think that's helpful to know how it works so that you guys know what happens. When you subscribe to a membership or buy a boba, it's kind of like, okay, now what? But now we just want you to know how it works again and what to expect when you do sign up for the membership. You can expect that email from us with the instructions to download the private podcast, which you will have exclusive access to from then on. And for the first couple of workshops that we're doing, we are making them, leaving them up for public accessibility for a limited time until they're archived on Bias Boba. But eventually we will be just posting things straight to that platform without the public access or teaser access, I guess. So make sure that you get in on that before that goes away.
Right. And, in the future, we are going to be sharing some, special ways that you could even get access to the membership. And so we're still working that out. But as long as you continue to listen to our, podcast, the TFAW Project, you'll be able to get those updates on how you could actually get a membership, maybe a workaround. We'll see. we haven't worked on that yet, but you will hear about it as long as you continue to listen to our show.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on. So, typically, Nani, in the recent weeks, we would announce a live workshop that's going to take place tomorrow. But we're taking a break this weekend because we have some speaking engagements starting with today. So if you are listening to this first thing in the morning, heads up, we're going to be speaking at the Bulasan Center for Filipino Studies conference today in the afternoon at 3:15 p.m. Pacific time, 6:15 p.m. Eastern time. And we are actually going to be speaking with Stacey Ann Salinas, who was with us for episode 100 of the TFAW Project, talking about our academic paper. I'm going to read the title because I love the title. Pinay Podcasters, Building a Self-Sustaining Community Through Storytelling, Collective Healing, Learning, and Collaboration. So as a reminder, that is today. If you are listening to this and it's not 3:15 yet, you can still sign up. In the show notes, actually, we do have a direct link to RSVP to our event. So check that out in the show notes or even in the newsletter that has gone out yesterday, because we usually send them out Thursday night. But Nani, any thoughts? Are you excited?
Yes, I'm excited. I think that you guys have all heard us at this point talk about this paper and the process that we went through to create it and get here to this milestone in our TFAW career to be presenting it at this research studies conference. And we are, again, just ever grateful to Stacey for pushing us outside of our comfort zone to do this. And it's a pride point for us to be able to share it with you guys now, because we have, as we've mentioned many times, worked really hard on it.
We have. We often say we work hard on the show notes and the production of the show, but we worked really hard on this paper. And partly it's because I haven't been in college for over a decade. Nani didn't go finish college. And so we're just like, this was very much out of our comfort zone to do this. So humor us.
This was truly a labor of love, you guys.
It was. Yeah, it totally was. But like Nani said, we're very proud of it. We're excited to present it today. So if you do catch this before the workshop, once again, the Bulasan Center for Filipino Studies conference, our workshop is going to take place 3:15 p.m. today, Pacific time, 6:15 p.m. Eastern time. Check out the show notes of this episode right now, sign up, and we would love to see you there. And really this paper is a big love letter to our community and what it means for us to do this show and what it means for you and what we hope we can inspire in you to do moving forward as you continue to support our show, or maybe even start your own, who knows? But yeah. All right. So that's what's going on today. We hope to see you there. Once again, check out the show notes for that. And then Nani, on Sunday, again, we have another presentation. We are very fortunate to be speaking at the Asian American Podcasters Association's first annual Asian Podcast Festival. So this is Sunday, May 30th. We don't know our time yet. I think we'll mention it in the show notes for the exact time when we're going to actually go live, if it's not mentioned in our newsletter already. But we are excited to be a part of this inaugural festival to do a live recording, Nani. We're going to do a live 20-minute recording and then a 10-minute Q&A. Any thoughts? Are you excited to do this?
Yeah, no, I love these opportunities to kind of do these interactive events and workshops that we can speak and really be in community with our audience and with our other Asian American podcasters. So yeah, I'm excited to present a little bit to you guys, but more so for the Q&A. I think that's what I really enjoy most about these sessions, is being able to speak directly with you guys in real time.
Yeah. I think what we're going to secretly do, which is no longer a secret because I'm saying it publicly, is we're basically going to have a very condensed version of our presentation of the Pinay Podcasters academic paper that we're presenting at the Bulasan Center Filipino Study Conference. And I'm kind of hoping we can, like you said, Nani, kind of keep it within maybe 15 minutes less so that we could spend the rest of the time doing Q&A, because that's what it's about, right? If it's going to be live, let's use this opportunity to speak to people and, answer the questions. I'm always very curious to know what people have to ask us.
Me too. So please come hang out with us, you guys. Links to RSVP or to reserve your spot are in the newsletter and the show notes.
Yes. Awesome. And yeah, we have a pretty busy weekend ahead, Nani. And just one more thing, I want to thank all of our listeners who did take the time to vote our show for the Quill Podcast Awards. We'll keep you updated. If we happen to get nominated, if we happen to be in the top 5, we will let you know. Otherwise, this might be the last time you hear me talking about it. Maybe we'll talk about another podcast award coming up. But I love doing these, Nani. I love whenever I hear about these awards to participate because I just think that it's great to get our community involved and say, hey, if you want to be part of the change, if you want to be part of the representation, like go ahead and nominate us. And so again, we just want to thank you all, just like how you all got us recognized at the first Golden Crane Podcast Awards last year. We're hoping to get another win again. And part of that is with your help. So thank you all again to those who did take the time to do that. And yeah, we'll keep you updated. But if we don't keep you updated, that probably means we weren't nominated. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it, Nani. I think that's all the updates we have today. I feel really good about just the pace of our show. I love that, once again, we have slowed down to really focus on being in community with all of you and also deepen the relationships with the past guests. I'm really excited to be bringing on a good friend of mine who was one of the early guests of our show as well in an upcoming live workshop. So more updates on that. I know, just a little teaser, Nani, we're planning on bringing on your dad with just Mrs.
Yes.
Nani. So any teasers, anything you want to kind of share with the audience, because we talk about your dad a lot.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know if he realizes how much we talk about him. He does listen to the show, or he did, when he first found out about it. I think binge listened to a lot of it. I don't know if he did the whole thing, but I don't know if he realizes how profound it is for him to be on. But that will be like Jen said, we have some real chismes for you guys coming up. And that is one thing that we have planned to look forward to. Because I know if you are a day one listener, all the beans that I've spilled about him on this show, and, just how I have reiterated a lot that we've come a long way. So I think it will be really interesting for you guys to get to meet him and put a face to a name and just spend some time with Filipino dad. Be expecting a lot of one-word answers and straight faces. So, Dad, I have my questions ready. I got a long list for you because I already know you're going to hit me with the, yeah, no, I don't know, which is basically one of his answers to every single question I've ever asked him my whole entire life. So I've got my questions ready, and I'm going to be trying to pull as much out of him as we possibly can.
It's okay. I got you, Nani. I'm usually pretty good with people who give me one-worded answers. So we'll see. This might be a challenge for me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited for you guys to meet, because you guys have not met each other formally yet. But I feel like he probably feels like he knows you through listening to the podcast. And I'm sure you feel like you know quite a bit about him after, talking to me for so long, and also talking to my family and just having a little bit of background on where we come from.
For sure. I am just so excited to hear his side of the story. I'm excited to hear how he's going to react. I'm excited to hear about his feedback. I'm just, like you said, I'm just excited to hear what he has to say, because we've talked about him, and that's really the beauty of Chismes with Jen and Nani. It's, this whole time we made it about other people and we sort of hinted at our lives, but now we're inviting you to be a part of our lives by bringing on people in our family, in our, our circle, to be able to share their perspective on what it's like to, do life with another Filipino American woman, So just really stoked about it. I can't wait. There's other things to come ahead. But in the meantime, Nani, we are just really excited to have all of you get involved and join us in what's going on this weekend. So again, as a recap, the Bulosan Center for Filipino Studies Conference, we are presenting today, 3:15 p.m. Pacific time, 6:15 p.m. Eastern time. Check the show notes for that, as well as the first annual Asian Podcast Festival being held this Sunday, May 30th. We don't know the time yet at the time of this recording, so please check the show notes to see the time specifically or in the newsletter. Other than that, we love you all. Thank you all so much. We hope that you had a great week. So much in store this weekend, so much in store for the upcoming episodes and Chismes with Jen and Nani. Remember, you can reach us and get a hold of us by texting us at 415-484-8329, or you can check out our website, tfaproject.com, or you can, learn more about Chismes with Jen and Nani at biasboba.com. All right, that's it. Love you all, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Love you all. Stay tuned. Get a boba. Bye.